lost my magnet. So the title of today's video is what you see below. It's like, today I quit my job. A compulsory, it wasn't today that I quit my job, it was actually 2 years ago. And I didn't quit my job, it was a mutual letting go. I want to say mutual, I was kind of upset about it. I was working as a teacher in a local high school, and the role came to an abrupt end unexpectedly, and I ended up trying to re-figure my life out. So even to get into a teaching position is quite difficult throughout your life. You have to do a lot of odd little things, but I didn't traditionally take the route to becoming a teacher. A lot of people go from school, college or university into their teacher training courses and then into a school and then stay there forever. I did another way. I kind of did things the opposite way around. I didn't really achieve well in school, although I was very academically gifted. Kind of just scraped my way through my GCSEs, the exams that you take when you're 16 in the UK, and just fumbled my way through the rest of my early adulthood. I mean, I don't want to talk about a lot of the stories there, but I did work a lot. I mean, my earliest job was as a paper boy when I was 16 years old. And then, when I was 13 years old. And then I had my real first job at 16, where I worked in a store called Matalan. And I worked in various job roles since then, majority as a low-paid labourer. So I worked in a lot of, on a lot of sites, building sites, houses, skips and things like that. I also worked on a lot of factory floors, places like Hallmark cards, or a kitchen factory where we built kitchen supplies, made kitchen supplies. I have also been a kitchen designer, where people used to come in with their measurements. My door is here, my wall is 4 meters long, my window is here, this is my outside wall, and I used to design a kitchen for them on something called AutoCAD, computer aided design. I did that when I was about 18 or 19. But at 21, I decided, or it was made as a decision for me throughout many things in my life. I travelled a lot in this time, and I moved to many different places and done a lot of different things. But as I said, I was working minimum wage jobs for little pay. And except the computer aided design, the kitchen design job, that was a really good professional job. The reason I left that job is because I moved out of the city. So in my life, I've had over 20 job roles, maybe 20 job roles, and I've also, 20s cutting it short, maybe it's like 30 or 40 now, but I've lived in about 20 or 30 different places as well. I've got a list there about how many different residencies or resident places that I've actually lived. Lost my trail of thought, but anyway, so I'd worked super hard throughout my whole life. At 21, I decided to educate myself. I went into college and I did a course called Access to HE, which was access to higher education for people that had missed the college period. And although I did try, I got accepted into A-levels, and I did A-levels in maths and further maths, accountancy and business, which are none of the subjects that I study or teach today. I actually teach humanities subjects, art and literature. And I'm in them fields, art and literature, rather than a mathematical field. Can't believe I was such a good mathematician. I've got a note about it somewhere about how I can't do maths anymore. But yes, so at 21, I ended up re-educating myself, going to university, getting a BA. And then after leaving university, I did what happens to most graduates, was I ended up in a working role, and I ended up in KFC. Again, I started at the bottom and I worked my way through, and over a 2-year period, I became like a shift supervisor. I wasn't the manager, but I became a shift supervisor. And I worked over 4 or 5 stores, but I kind of hated KFC. It was draining, dealing with the many-headed monster that is the public continuously, and often they were drunk and inconsiderate and just wanting of everything. And don't get me wrong, the service industry made me a very strong person. But I left KFC, and one of the interesting things about leaving KFC is that I became a vegetarian. That's how much it affected me for the next 5 years after leaving KFC. I was a vegetarian. Then I moved to a restaurant called the Five Guys. Five Guys. You might have heard of this. It's quite famous. They don't really advertise except for word of mouth, which is just what I'm doing right now. But yeah, Five Guys, they opened in Edinburgh. I was living in Edinburgh at this time. By the way, all of this, I'm leaving out a lot of my personal circumstances, my family relationships, my romantic relationships, other periods between that. I'm leaving a lot out. I'm just specifically talking about the idea of work. And yeah, so I moved to Five Guys. Five Guys opened as a new store in Scotland, the first store in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And they opened with a big expectation, so they hired about 60 members of staff. And within the first month, 30 or 40 members of that staff was sacked, was let go. And I was one of the people that was let go. So that was quite hurtful and harmful to me. Lost my magnet again, but it's okay. So that was quite hurtful and harmful to me. But after that, that's where I did find a nice role that I found myself in, which was working in a bar and a restaurant. Now, I am a Muslim. It's very strange or very rare to see a Muslim working in a bar. But, you know, it was what was open to me, and I ended up working there, and I became really good at the job. So, I learned how to pour pints and mix cocktails and make coffees and serve people. I mean, there were so much things that I learned in that job that I never expected to be, but I became really good at it. One of the things with me and anything that I do in life, when I do put myself towards something, I have quite addictive personality, and I have quite a perfectionist attitude when it comes to finishing the job how I think it needs to be finished. And so I became really good at all of these jobs. I slowly rose through the ranks, from slave, barman, kitchen, dishwasher, up into server, and then I became the waiter, maitre d'. Then I became the head barman, head barista, head barman. Then I became the supervisor, and then I became a manager. I had worked in Edinburgh. I worked in about 5 or 6 different restaurants and coffee places and cafes and hotels. But in all of these roles that I found myself, getting to the top, but still making minimum wage or just a little bit over minimum wage, alongside tips, and living in an expensive city like Edinburgh, draining. That's when I decided to retrain. Maybe this has gone on for too long. That's when I decided to retrain and do a teacher training course, or 2 or 3 teacher training courses. After my teacher training courses, I worked a few odd summer school jobs in Edinburgh as a tour guide as well. Trying to build my people skills. And then the first real teaching role that I had was in Edinburgh in a school called CES and Heriot-Watt University, where a group of Italian students came, and I was able to, impart my little bit of English knowledge to them. But it wasn't a full, complete teaching role. It was more like a glorified babysitting role. But my first true opportunity came when I started looking abroad. Originally, I was looking for jobs in the East Asia, so China, Japan, Taiwan, places like this, Thailand. And I was finding lots of good opportunities there, but I was a little bit wary. Number one, I'd never been to any of them places. I wasn't very familiar with the languages and the cultures of them places, but the money was really enticing. So I did sign a contract for China, actually. We'll talk about that later, but I'm happy I didn't go to China because COVID, the place that I was going to go, which is where COVID started, and I don't think that I would have been able to leave China for the next 2 or 3 years after that. But the job role that I did take was in Saudi Arabia. So I remember when I was applying for the job, so I applied for the job and I found this job for a teacher in a university in Saudi Arabia. I applied for it, I interviewed for it, and within a week of me interviewing, they gave me the job. And from 2 weeks of them giving me the job, I was out in Saudi Arabia teaching. It was a big change in my life, another big change. As I said to you, I've lived in over 20 places. This was one of the biggest moves that I had. I sold everything that I had, everything that I owned, my huge collection of books, my everything, my sofa, my bed, my wardrobes. Actually, I gave most of it away, my gym equipment, and I moved out to Saudi Arabia. Had a great experience. COVID happened, ended up moving back to my parents' house after a long time. Carried on working online for the university. But then at some point, I already had my BA, which I was finally doing something with. And because I was finally doing something with it, and through all of this period, I was always creating art and writing. So I've got novels, stories, poems, performances and songs and all of these things. I wanted to fall into it a little bit more. There is one personal story that I will tell you. I did meet an artist, and I had a romantic relationship with her, and we both helped each other become like more disciplined and more open artists. I pushed her to draw and paint a little bit more. She pushed me to write and sing and dance a little bit more and just put myself out there a little bit more. I mean, I did one of my first ever performances for her as an audience of one. But let's not go to anyway. 2021, I decided to go and do a master's degree. The number one reason I decided to do the master's degree was because that romantic relationship that I had just talked about, she had done a master's degree, and she said it was the best thing that she had ever done, and it made her the artist. And I really trusted her at that time. So I took her advice. I looked for a master's degree, and I found one in Bolton called Create Your Own Masters. Have you got a research project? Do you want to study something? So I went and I applied for it, and I actually applied for 2 master's degrees at the same time. I know this has gone off topic, but I applied for 2 master's degrees at the same time. The first one was philosophy of religion, studied in Preston, and the second one was an arts degree, and I actually got offered both of the places. And so after contemplating it for a while, because I'm really interested in religion as well and philosophy, maybe I've got loads of books here about philosophy of the puzzle of ethics, the puzzle of God. I mean, I'm quite interested in a lot of these ideas, a short history of everything. I mean, maybe I'll just show you mine. I've got hundreds of books that I need to get through. But yeah, anyway, I'm very happy that I ended up choosing to do the arts degree. Creative practice, it was called. Throughout the 2 years, I did lots of my art. Anyway, I'm veering off topic. Let's come back. In 2020, after I left my arts degree, I wanted to be an artist and I wanted to work at the same time to keep some money on my side. So I ended up working as a teacher. Long story here. But I ended up getting let go from that job. I think I might have mentioned in the beginning of the video. That was a big change. That happened at the end of in February 2022. But I'd expected it from January 2022. They were going to let me go. They just couldn't do it without going through the process. I'm going to take a breath while I catch up to myself and figure out where I am. So in 2022, I was let go from my job. And from that moment, I decided I need to do something of my own. There is no way that I can live the rest of my life chasing after jobs, doing work for other people and neglecting my own kind of life. So that is where the idea of sacrificing everything for the art came from. I did do that. I feel like I did do that. From that moment, I sacrificed everything to create something for myself. I'm going to come back in 1 minute. So I was actually wondering the best way to describe what I've actually been doing. So I'm going to show you on my laptop and I'll put the video onto the video. So here is who I am, Ajaz Qureshi. You can see that I branded myself. This is all after the work. So you can see I branded myself as a traditional 9-to-5 job roles, So I can branded myself as an artist, writer, teacher, editor. And what I wanted to do was just bring all of my work and all of my life into a place that I'm able to show other people. So here, human. So who am I? I'm a British South Asian writer, teacher and artist from Nelson. I hold a BA Honours in English Lit and Creative Writing, an MA in Creative Practice, and then graduating with distinctions. My creative practice revolves around the intersections of culture and heritage, place and community, and individual and plural identity. We talk about where I found my art, some of the prizes that I've won, how my work has been supported, my track record of this is all of this bio came from after I did my traditional job roles, where I decided I need to make a bio for myself and brand myself into the world. So I have been commissioned to produce poetry and short stories for arts, culture and cultural organizations nationally and internationally. My work has been featured around the globe. So here I talk about my previous teaching experience and also moving my hometown. And now I'm talking about my business, which is To Whom Editorial, and my newest volunteer job role is to the Burnley Viewpoint. And so I've put a list of all my accolades and noteworthy works here. I do need to fill it out before, but you can see a kind of short history of my previous jobs here. So from kitchen designer here, which 2007, I didn't go below that. But yeah, you can see all of the job roles that I've been here. So teacher, course coordinator, collaborator, SEN teacher, and now that's that. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to show you this portfolio. Now I'm going to show you backwards, so I'm going to go as far down as I possibly can. Okay, when I first started putting this together, I decided to show all of my previous work. So I did have a small tutoring business where I was trying to work, and I showed some of my poems, my earliest poems, going to the Saudi Arabia, the cultural dance that I went to. There is a small video on here, it's on my YouTube. Really good. So this was a dance that I went to. Basically, it's like a cultural. You can hear the drums here. Quite interesting, right? Quite interesting, right? So I've got the video on YouTube, but basically why I did that is because I wrote a poem for it, which should be here. Yeah. So I wrote, it's called Al-Arda, the parade, and I wrote a big poem for this in the same rhythm that they had done the dance for me. So yeah, so I'm here, I'm marking a lot of the previous things that I did. This was an agricultural workshop that for a funding bid that I did, which was successful. Moving on, I've got, that was the Beltane Festival, similar idea there. I did do a poem, a sequence of poems for the Beltane Festival. But anyway, moving back to work. So now, this is where I really started. As I said, February last year is where I lost my job. So I was like, oh, I need to do something. So this was the first thing that I did. Create a statement. Who am I? What did I do? What did I feel? But since this time, it's developed a lot. Like what I wrote there is perhaps not what I do there. So I had an interview with somebody. Then I did a writer's showcase. This was a multidisciplinary showcase that I was part of. You can see my fancy face there. Where we did a huge selection. I basically projected my poems onto one of the walls here. And so you can see me slowly falling into becoming an artist and trying to make a success here. Then I got a residency for a local on the local canals, because our area is built up of these canals. And so yeah, you can see me here with the artists doing some writing, and from this came a really good commission. There's also a YouTube video actually. From here came a really good commission, So I'm going to try to move on. I've got some stuff here. I did a small little exhibition there, just with a couple of poems. You can see maybe them there. Yeah, I just put them together because they were fitting. So now we can see, now this was another commission that I had. It was to write a poem for Walt Whitman about the state of nature and democracy. So now I'm starting to understand, oh wow, the more I put myself into this and the more I get my name out there, the more people will come back to me and start giving me more and more projects. This was a short video, a music film video that I was part of. There's a lot of work that went into this, 5 cameras, drone footage, and yeah, you can find it. It's called Loxes, like lockers with an X instead of C. Doing my creative show, and this was actually my first commission as an artist. So I came to a group of Michael, one of the artists here, approached me. Where is he, Michael? There he is. Michael approached me and asked me if I wanted to be part of a little walk around Nelson and perhaps give some poems and things like that, which is exactly what I did. I just went around Nelson and I talked about some of my poems. You can see here that this is not actually a published book. This is just me reading from my notebook. One of these. Yeah, okay, so there is also a film on this as well. Maybe I'll find it online. Actually, I will. I'll just have a look. See, this is Nels. It's not this one. I'll come back to this. So, I know this has got quite long-winded, but I'm trying to put a lot of things together at the same time. So you can see this was the project that I did with
memories,
Michael.
A lot of kind of stories of kind of people's childhoods and the use of the indoor market. There's a real want for things that happen by chance or for free.
The loose thread of this town.
Expect.
A single cotton bobbin unravels the loose thread of this town. The people pass easily through the eye of the needle.
Anyway, but there is this documentary that was made, but this was my first, it wasn't my first commission, but it was one of the first commissions that I had that helped me get a public profile. And from this, actually, there was a couple of commissioners in here, which you can probably see here and here, Callum and Carenza, and they saw my work and they were like, Ajaz, we were really impressed with your work and we would like you to work with us. So skipping over a few different things, I'll come back to them. One of the commissions that they give me was to write a poem for Nelson, for my hometown, on World Poetry Day 2024 and have it displayed in the town centre. So this is my poem here on the library window. And that was a huge moment for me to have my work translated from what I had on the page to have it in a public space. I mean, I'd performed in things like that before, but to have my work in such a place was quite significant for me. I did public readings as well. I actually wrote 5 poems in total, but there was only one chosen. And on that same day, I published my first book, which you will see here. Full Nelson. So this is my only published book. It's a poetry collection and I published it with Pendle Press. There is some videos and stuff of me doing my little thing. That is Sharif of Pendle Press, my publisher. This is me doing some public readings and stuff. But yeah, so putting them two together, that was my first big break into the world. Like, wow, okay, I have a public art display and I have a book. And actually that set me up. And then I started moving forward. I mean, this is some other work that I did. This is some, hopefully it opens. Yeah, so this was a memoir that I helped somebody edit because I did a lot, insertions, over 2,000 insertions, 5,914 revisions on his document. There's a lot of work in itself. I made a little bit of money from there. I did another exhibition here where I put some photographs and some poetry together. Let's see if we can see some of them there. So I put some poetry and photographs together, Lancashire in mono. This project didn't actually get fully displayed, but it's there ready for the next time. I entered a couple of prizes. I won the Nature Writing Prize, shortlisted for the Nature Writing Prize. You can see here, okay. This was Burnley Words Festival. I had an interview with the Writing Squad, and as I said, the commission started rolling in then, and so I got to write a short story for one of the local arts commissions, Small Bells Ring, and I wrote a story about. Maybe I'll share the story. It's called a timber. It's called a Tambra Timber. It's about a wicker man that wakes up when the forests are on fire, and he does everything in his power to try and extinguish the fires. Okay, and then a really big thing happened was that I was applying for funding all of this time, and I got a huge fund from the Arts Council, which was £12,000, which allowed me to move forward. And I bought things like the studio and the camera that I'm recording on, and the microphones and the business cards and blah blah blah, just to get myself moving forward. I was invited back to my own high school for an assembly. I got my poetry book out, which we talked about. I was part of lots of projects, the Ripple Effect project. Let's see if I've got things in here. Yeah, where we developed this outdoor space, and yeah, there's just a lot of work that went through here. Just doing some poetry readings and stuff. Here I helped open up an exhibition in our local town, Art is a Human Right, a very nice gallery. So we did lots of things, and we celebrated the launch of this book here, Sam Hanna's Around Our Way. Sam Hanna, this is also published by Pendle Press, and Sam Hanna is a local filmmaker who documented all of the dying arts, or all of the dying cultural kind of phenomena that we had in the north of England. And I think Sam Hanna actually knew that these crafts were dying out, so he wanted to document them in some way. And I mean, that was a long time ago, in like the 1940s. Died in 96, it says here. So he lived to 93 years old, 1903 to 1906. And Sharif put together this book. I want to show you actually what Sharif did originally put together, which was this book here. So Sharif's father was an artist from Libya, an exiled artist in Libya, and he put this collection together after his father passed away, of all many of the artworks, satirical artworks that his dad made. And so it's quite a really nice book, really well made, and you can see some of that. And actually, Sharif's father, Hassan, used to teach in the local college. He was an art teacher in local college. So anyway, so we did the book launch. I was asked to do the Pendle Festival of Culture. Got on a big stage with this guy, H. Dami. There was lots of stuff going on here. Here's me with the mayor, showing me the book. This is the second mayor. If you know, in my previous the large commission, there was a different mayor at that time. And then I was offered an editor, to become an editor for one of the local magazines, Worktown Words, coming out of Bolton. So I put myself forward for that, and I did it. It was a lot. You can find that online, Worktown Words. Worktown Words Tribute. And this is mine, edited by Ajaz Qureshi. You're able to see everything, yeah. And how I started it was with a foreword, as you normally do. One of the projects that I did, one of the things that I did put in there was I worked with a local group. Why is it not open to the first page? I worked with a local group. It was a year 6 primary school, and they wrote a tribute to Nelson, and I actually got that published for them in this book. And that is the kind of things I'm able to do now, is to help other people get their work published and get into professional circles themselves. I've got here where I'm talking about Palestine. I've had a few residencies with the super slow way here. You know, life is better with a stick. So this was a poetry residency. I did a lot of work with these guys where I helped them write poems, and then I recorded them for them. So there are a few poems. Perhaps I can just show you one here. Might be nice. And then you can see some of the vast amount of works that I have actually done. Okay, so we have here the projects. I've got something here like this.
A fish's view. Water, vast eternal water. A great ancient ocean, mightily spread under the stars. The shark stalking silently the unaware fish. Snap, small meal, now it's coming after me. Swim, swim, swim.
I really like this poem because it's quite atmospheric, it's got a lot to it. But the person who wrote it, Zainab, was really good. She was a really good poet for her age. And here I've got a young girl here as well. I feel extraordinary. Hope it comes up.
I feel extraordinary. I feel joyful. I feel melancholy. Nature, rainy, sunny, snowy.
Yeah, just something like that is enough. It was really beautiful. So yeah, okay, there are them projects. And then I started taking that further as well. I'll just come back to it. Later on, I did that for these guys as well on stage though. I asked them to write some poems, and then I recorded them for them. I'm still putting them recordings together, so they won't be too long. I'm doing that on GarageBand. So yeah, putting all these skills together, not only becoming a writer, but learning how to record music, how to make myself sound great, how to help other people record their music, how to help other people produce work, how to help other communities or produce work for other communities that fall in line with their kind of outlooks. I was just showing you that, yeah. We can see I got the poetry residency, a real Llewellyn Press from Ireland. Great publisher, read my book very closely and had an interview with me, and he really
I don't want to keep interrupting you. I don't like to write too many typograph.
So he really interviewed me, and it was really nice for me to get the word of my poetry out there, my poetry book out there. I'm going to skip over because I've done a lot. Okay, going to assemblies like that, like I went to my own high school assembly. I went to my university, actually, the one that I did my master's in, and I was able to give a lecture there. I don't think I put that on my website. Oh yeah, university seminar, postgraduate. So I was able to go into university and talk about my life. You can see me there, talking about me and my website. One of the biggest projects that I did, this is the assembly here, I did a live radio broadcast which was published in the newspaper. A lot of the things that I've done recently have been published in the newspaper. So this is all about creative practice, right? This is everything that I've done as an artist in the last 2 years, since February 2022. And there's more, and this is perhaps the biggest thing, was that I wrote, directed and performed a stage theatre show in front of quite a big audience. It was quite a significant milestone in my creative practice. You can see this is the theatre, it's me on stage, that is the seating, that's how big it was. Honestly, to have my work performed in a theatre like this is fantastic. And I performed it with somebody called Naomi Wood, who came down and is touring a show called Goddess at the moment, one of the best shows I've ever seen. But that was another significant milestone. Lots of creating writing workshops. This is a reflection on another novel that I've edited, which you will see. We'll talk about my editing work later. Entering a short story slam, becoming a finalist, not winning but becoming a finalist in the short story slam. All of these things go to show how much momentum and how much you should take your momentum and your work into account. Sorry, I've lost my trail of thought. All this goes to show is like if you keep working towards something, lots of things will come back to you for this reason. Here I produced a poet, an album. You can find this on all streaming platforms everywhere. Sincere Intentions, yeah, just an 8-track album released on my birthday. Here I wrote a note into my 36th year about how I'm superly content, and they say a creative life is a very full life, and I certainly see that. Festive Peace Market, and at the moment I'm doing these writing workshops with the Super Slow Way again, where we're just walking and talking and helping writing. I've already showed you the Burnley Youth Theatre, Staged or Youth Theatre, and the last thing I will show you here is the Burnley Viewpoint. I am now the editor for this magazine, so we can find that here. This is the magazine. Yeah, so you're welcome to see that. This is a magazine for local people, by local people. So here I wrote a little article here. There's the stories of people that I've interviewed in the street. I've still got a few more to do. I've actually got some video interviews as well. I've got my workshops there. But this is for local people, talking about local people, a Christmas without morals. So all of these submissions have come from people in the local area wanting to say something, and we want to develop this website into a place where people are allowed to come and give their voices and their little things to us. I took a few of these pictures there as well. Yeah, okay, so that was a lot there, right? That is all my creative practice, a lot of my creative practice. But now I'm going to talk about how did I actually make money from this, because it has been quite difficult. So I've done a few different things. Number one is I opened up this business, To Whom Editorial, and now it's a professional writing and editing service. I do both. If people need CVs or cover letters or things like that, I'm able to help them. A little bit about me, a little bit about the things that I've done in the past, my Burnley Viewpoint, some of the case studies basically of what I've done. Here's a contact, here's some reviews of my work before with some general rates and some. I've also got lots of invoices and contracts and things like this to put all of this together. More than this. So this is one of the ways that I'm making money, and I'm only going to show you this as well. So I've started putting my online resources onto this. This is called Tez. That is me. This is my author dashboard, so you can see everything. So you can see actually I haven't made, I did take the initial amount of money out at the end of last year. So this is only from what is made in January so far. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it does slowly trickle in. So I've had 435 downloads and 61 purchases, maybe a few pound each. They do add up. So you can see here everything that has been downloaded. It's only January, I've only had one download. Let's see, in January I've only had one purchase, but that's fine because the materials I've made on here, they will last for a long time. So here I've got some odd PowerPoints, some mock exams and things like that, and hopefully when people need them they will come. These are my own materials that I spent a long time creating, maintaining, resourcing. I have the Malt profile, which hasn't really helped me a lot because I haven't had much work from it, but I have had a couple of things happen from Malt. So yeah, this is Malt. Just make sure this is recording. Yeah, so this is Malt, and perhaps where I've made my most money is on this website here. This is Preply. So I don't have much money in there at the moment, but you can see if you just look at my profile. Oh, I shouldn't have done it this way. I should have done it this way. So preview profile, go on. Who am I? Ajaz Qureshi. My rate is a little bit low at the moment because I wasn't getting many customers. So we can see here I have 10 reviews at 5 stars. That's 50 stars. That's a lot of stars. Ajaz is an amazing teacher. He loves his professional. Ajaz is a charming person. Ajaz is a very skillful, open-minded, very good and interactive teacher. 5 stars all across here. I asked Ajaz, but actually these reviews are like gold. Honestly, people read these reviews before they actually come to you and watch your video or something like that. So yeah, I got 249. That's 291. But a lot of these have expanded elsewhere, you know. Now, for example, with Massimo, I worked with him outside Preply to work on his book, which you can find on my website. Okay, moving on from that. So I've got that. Yeah. If we just go here and we type in my name, Ajaz Qureshi, I'm just going to type in Lancashire. Right, so here my website comes first. This is where my book is. So the reason I'm showing you all this now is to show you how I'm trying to get my work out there. So you can hear my malt. This is a local website, Creative Lancashire, that they put my work on there. From all of the previous things, like the book is slowly trickling in money. This is not me, by the way. Whoever this comes up, this is not me. He was already 40 in 2015. I'm not even 40 yet. This was the other thing that I was going to show you.
So we're here today at Nelson Library because I'm excited to unveil the poem that I've written for my hometown. I think this has been a very important commission for me because it's a lot.
Okay, so I try to give you a thorough breakdown of a lot of the things that I've done there, and perhaps I didn't talk about it enough. I have made a lot of money through not only my own creative work, such as my book and my album and my theatre show, but I've also made work through working with communities, doing public workshops, doing community activities, performing on stages, taking myself out of my comfort zone and doing something for other people, not only solely for myself. And for the last 2 years, all of the money that I have made of my own accord. I feel like I have strived and made the deals and made the contracts and, you know, entice people into giving me money to produce work. And it's not an easy task, and especially when you're not salaried and you don't work 9 to 5. A lot of the job roles that you go into, people are already set. They know what you go in there knowing what your job role is, what you are expected to do for that company. Whereas I'm just making a lot of this up. All of these things that I've just showed you on my website, I made up. I didn't think a couple of years ago it wasn't even in the forefront of my mind to do this. And didn't even show you more things, which is like I opened up the eBay business where I started selling things on eBay to try and push my finances up like that. I made this YouTube channel to try and monetize this. It's not the only reason I made the YouTube channel. Number one is to maintain my creative practice. But yes, so look, I'll come a bit closer so I feel a bit more intimate. I have done all of this in the last 2 years, and at the moment I am completely broke. That's the truth of the matter. I am completely broke. I have invested all of my money and my time and my effort into creating this, and I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm on the cusp, at the brink of something, like moving into another stratosphere, another realm, and I will start to see the return of this. The only downside, there are many downsides. Number one is my mental health has taken a big hit. Instead of working 40 hours a week, I'm now working 120 hours a week, thinking about it in my dreams. I'm waking up thinking about it, I'm eating thinking about it. It's like I'm doing a lot because it's not only the creative work that I'm doing now, which is it takes a toll in itself. It's the business mindset that I have to have, but how to create things for money. It's quite a big change for an artist to make. How do you charge money for creative endeavors? It's like almost invaluable, right? The things that I bring to the table. But yes, for the last 2 years I've been trying to make money. At the moment I'm broke, and everybody around me, a lot of the close people that are around me, the ones that have seen my successes, they have seen me get the £12,000 from the Arts Council, they have seen me get the commissions and get paid thousands of pounds for them, they have seen me buy the studio and the equipment, and they have seen me make the videos and make the album. The album cost a lot of money, and to make the album. And they all say to me, why don't you get a job? Why don't you find something sustainable? Why don't you find something that will keep you afloat? I mean, at the moment, I'm not sure if you watched my previous video, but I am completely broke. I lost all my subscriptions, my insurance is gone, my Adobe, luckily I paid my website to keep it online. But a lot of the subscriptions, you know, Canva, Adobe, Evernote, my phone bill, my phone is actually, luckily, my phone is offline at the moment, but it did crack. It did crack. I don't know if you can see the line there. Luckily, it didn't stop working. It kept me there. But yeah, I don't know what my next step is. All I know is that this year, in 2025, I'm going to carry on focusing on this idea of creating good things, but also making art. If anybody that has watched this to the end has any advice, tips, ideas, anything for me that you think is valuable, that you will think will help me take me to the next stage of my creative practice, then you're welcome to come and give me your advice, because I will happily take it. The good thing about being a teacher is, in my opinion, that you're also able to be taught. I am not closed off to learning new things and trying new things and attempting new things, the YouTube being one of them. So yeah, that's enough for me now, because I think I have talked a lot. I think I give you a really good background of how I left my job and became the person that I am, and how I'm now self-employed and almost self-sufficient. But I will get there. I will get there to self-sufficiency, and I will start making money. The one thing that I don't want to do is become a drop shipper. I don't want to sell courses to people that do not need the courses, I'm not happy with, I'm not capable of. I mean, just before I started this video, I had a lesson with a young girl, 10 years old, from China, superly smart, and I wanted to give her the correct information, and I wanted to tailor my information for what she needed it for, which is to pass the 11+ exams, not for just a generic English course. So yeah, that is me. Please like, subscribe and follow me. You can find my work at Sincere Intentions on social media, or at Ajaz Qureshi, ajazqureshi.com online. That is my website. Peace, love and everything.